Anyway, first I'd like to have everybody that worked on the committee to just stand. Just stand. And that would be Nancy, and Ann, and Audrey, and Russ. The ones that aren't here is Keith Welsh, I believe. Did I miss anyone? And Jim Bedard. Where's Jim Bedard? Jim Bedard. Yay, Jim. And I want to acknowledge Jim Bedard. He was very good at keeping the list of who's coming to what.
Did you get my money?
And collecting money for the turf end. So we're very happy that he took part in that. And everybody on the committee, I just want to acknowledge they have done really a great job in making sure that people were notified and writing those little notes on all of the reminders and asking people to come. I also would ask that everybody, well, I'm going to start at this table and have, Nancy will start with you. If you'll stand, please. Stand. And Nancy Parker, of course, is in our class. And I'd like to ask, Nancy, what have you been doing the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years? How long do you have?
Well, let's see.
Well, we're starting with you. That's hard.
Well, I'm here. My husband died 13 years ago, and I'm still here, planning to go to Boston where my kids are someday. I was in real estate for nearly 27 years. That's about enough.
Okay, well, we're going to come back to you later. Ann, how about you? Ann was a nurse.
Ann Chrisman, I worked as a nurse in Rochester in various jobs and fields. Cleveland, Dublin, Ireland for a year. I worked for the Rochester YMCA camp for many summers, 13 or something. And I mentioned Dublin. And eventually I ended up back in the house that I grew up in. And I have loved retirement.
Okay, Jim with the camera.
What?
And the computer. Tell us what you've been doing the last 60 years.
60. Had 3 kids.
Okay, that's a good start.
They're all in the area. I went to night school and got my degree from Union College. I was electrical engineer, GER and DC. And I retired about 19 years ago.
And you're happy? And where's your wife tonight?
She's at church.
Oh, yeah. She was planning on being here. Nancy, his wife, is going to be here. Right.
I did lose 2 husbands. One to heart attack, one to breast cancer. And I remarried again.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough time. And Arlene?
I flew in from Dayton, Ohio, and I've been retired from motorist insurance about 15 years, since 97, whatever that is, 16 years. And Carol and I, my travel companion, we've been to Hawaii and Italy and Spain and Russia and Egypt and Ireland. And I mean, we've been all over the place, and they won't let us back in, but we enjoy it. And so I have 7 grandchildren and 2 children, and they're all in the Dayton area, so that's really nice.
And you get back here occasionally.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know about the 70th, but, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just keep our options open there.
We get free meals, I'll be there.
Right, I think we do actually. And I was not able to be at the 50 plus, but I heard it was really great. I guess we can go over here. Well, let's start with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lou Ackley, married to Joe. That'll be 58 years in about another week. We have 5 daughters and 26 grandchildren,
26,
including some grades. I've been retired since, I think, 19... No. I've been retired for 5 years. Forget the date. And, we live in Florida, in Ormond Beach, and we both miss the North, and we enjoy coming back to this region. So I'm I'm glad that I've met everybody, and those that I haven't talked to. I get away from the heat.
Good.
Thank you.
That's what this is all about. Russ, you're next.
Well, after I finally squeaked out of high school and went to school in Missouri, I graduated as a petroleum engineer, which I was in the Southwest for 9 years, and then got recycled into conservation, into water. And so I worked for the conservation department for almost 30 years before retiring, some 18 years ago. And from there up and on, when I worked for FEMA part-time and SEMO for part-time, even on rare occasions did a little consulting and so forth, and more volunteering than anything else. And being very fortunate that got remarried to a very, very lovely lady here that's really making my life complete.
Her name?
To be a chemical engineer and went to Northeastern in Boston for a couple of years and found that mathematics was involved in. But if you recall, I was also very involved with the orchestra at Scotia. In fact, I went around and I guess we don't have anybody that was in it here, but anyway, I got elected president because I enjoyed standing in front of. So I went to Boston University, got a degree in music education, and played the bassoon in the Portland Symphony for 25 years, taught for 30 years, and retired in 1987 to the job, which was also a hobby, and I've been full-time there since 1987 at the Seashore Trolley Museum in Kennebunkport, Maine, where Russ finally tracked me down, and had some secret method of doing it, and Ann tracked me down, and Vero did, which was kind of nice that people would be interested enough to find me. But it took until I realized that this could probably be the last opportunity if you do it every 5 years. So this list isn't getting any shorter, is it? I brought with me my son David, who's an electrical engineer, graduate of Worcester Polytech, as did his brother. They're going to be support me in my old age. And,
I didn't know that.
Since when?
my significant other didn't want to be with all those old people, so that's why she didn't come. I have a daughter who's a college professor in Joliet, Illinois, and his brother is an engineer with Aero Corporation, where he gave me this shirt in Salt Lake, Utah. We were out there visiting. We have 3 grandchildren, and they're wonderful kids. I don't know where they got all the smarts, but they're really good.
Got it from someone, some genes. Thank you, David, for joining us today. It's really nice. And Beverly?
Beth Mirando. After high school, I joined my friend Ann Chrisman at Ellis, and we graduated as classmates. Married my love, Nick Mirando. Had 4 children, 10 grandchildren. We had some wonderful years together until I lost him in 1999 after working in the hospital and also for him later. And I do a little bit of traveling, mostly to Myrtle Beach. And a lot of gardening in my yard, which I love, which is killing me right now. But it'll be there waiting for me. And it's so nice to see everybody. I haven't seen it so long. Especially those that I don't recognize, but it's nice to reestablish and see everyone. And we're still all upright. Keep it up.
Pat?
I went to Cornell and I graduated and went into dental research in Rochester, New York, where I met my husband, who happened to come from New Zealand. And so we moved to New Zealand, where I spent the next 15 years. Wow. And then we got divorced, and I came back and settled in Connecticut and worked at Yale University until I retired.
Thank you, Pat. Shirley?
I'm Shirley Gilbert Betts, and I went to Green Mountain, and I worked for a year or so, and then I got married and had 2 children, and I have 3 grandchildren, and my husband died about 8 years ago. So I'm in Queensbury, New York now, so not too far away. Yeah, not bad.
Close enough to come. We just before we go to the next table, we meet in our area, in our little capital district area, about 3 or 4 times a year, and I'm sure that we'll be talking with Johnny Ryan about some things coming up, and maybe Audrey, who knows. Vero, how about you?
Oh,
You just got transplanted, didn't you, Vero?
yeah. I spent a lot of years in New York.
Don't say it like
including
that.
Well, no, we enjoyed it.
It wasn't a sentence.
I've got a lovely wife of 57 years almost now. Yeah, and
Counting, right?
yeah. Well, after 50, you know, you kind of slip a little bit and everything. My wife Jane's with me here. We've got 2 sons who are both out west, which is the reason why we ended up moving out west. We made a promise many years ago that when my mother passed, that we would get closer to them. Well, my mother died at 101, so 2 years ago we ended up moving out to Nebraska. Ann and Greg have seen a house out there. We got a very lovely house out there.
Very nice.
And we've got 7 of our 8 grandchildren are in Lincoln, including our granddaughter who's a senior at the university, and she's the 4th generation of our family to go to the University of Nebraska. It's kind of habit forming, you know, after a while. And in my career, mostly I worked for New York State, and I was a management analyst. And the last 17 years I was with the Labor Department running quality control audits. I actually was paid to tell people off. There's not many people that got that. But, and I still play with trains. I still have my bad habits, although I'm concentrating down to one size now, anything like that. And with the grandchildren, we finally have a grandchild that we can grow up with. He's just short of 3 years old now. And we've gone through the stage, the mumbling stage and the talking stage. He's in the regression stage right now. It's part of the terrible twos, but it's fun. And I actually retired. Well, I retired from the state 20 years ago, and I retired from working 2 years ago when we moved.
Thank you. And next, it looks like it's Audrey. Oh, well, you did introduce Jean, didn't you?
Yeah.
Jean? Okay, good. Audrey? With your mouth full of bread.
Very good, thank you.
That's what I did for the last 60 years, stuff myself with bread. If at all possible. John and I spent most of our career on Long Island. We started in Buffalo, and then we went to Batavia, and then we went to Long Island. We retired 18 years ago, and we moved up to Woodstock, New York, and we fit right in. We spend a lot of time traveling, and when we travel, one of the things we like to do are hit all the museums we possibly can and any art galleries, because we do love that tremendously. You know, it's part of our life. And it fits in with our time in Woodstock because it's a colony of the arts. They didn't have the actual concert there. They had it many, many miles away. But it is a colony of the arts. A lot of artists, a lot of musicians, a lot of authors. Gail Godwin lives there. A lot of actors live there. Not that I know them personally or have anything to do with them, but they're there. I had 4 boys, and the last 2 are twins, and that did me in. And after they got to be school age, I went back to teaching, and I taught as a speech pathologist. Sometimes I taught K through 8. It depended on where we were living and how many kids we had and when I had them throughout the career. But my full-time career was mostly in special education. And John was a guidance counselor for most of those years. And we have 6 grandchildren, and they're all, I don't know how anybody does anything now in school. It is so difficult. They're in all these AP classes, and they're tested to death, and it's really, really hard. And I know, I think if I had to go to Scotia High School and do what my grandchildren do, I would never get out because it's so difficult now. And they're trying so hard. They're really bright, but boy, it's tough. And I also wouldn't want to be back teaching because I think the teachers have a tremendously difficult job, and they're blamed for everything. We know it's their fault, but it's been a really good life, and I've enjoyed moving back closer to Schenectady and Scotia because then it gives me a chance to see the people that get together often. You know, we see each other, and it's really been helpful. It's hurtful when we lose good people like Stephanie, you know, that was a tough one. And other people that were close that we saw more and more. But we're here today, and we're going to have a good time here tomorrow. And it's good seeing when we're all upright. Good to see you.
And your husband John is supposed to sing next to you. And we do want to mention that Audrey has hosted a number of events down
Well,
in
we're going to
Woodson.
do it again this October if we can come up with a date.
Okay.
If I could stay away from trees.
Would you like to explain that to the group?
Everybody knows that I'm, you know, trees and I have a problem.
Chairs too.
Chairs too, you know, I can fall over that. Everyone was supposed to come last October, and I just ran into a tree in July, and that finished that. So I'm okay now.
How's the tree?
The tree really, nothing happens to a tree. It was just a little bit too. I couldn't take it down, I tried.
Sandy, what's going on in your life?
Well, I'm Sandy Lutz, and I live in Canton, Ohio. And we never get to see each other. We're at two different parts of the state. But I went from here to the University of Vermont and then to Southern Illinois University, where I met my husband. And then finally, after 14 years, finished my doctorate at Texas Tech. And my husband always said that I never used it to earn any money, I just gave it to the church. And I sort of did, to the United Methodist Church. I've done a lot with that particular denomination and whatever, and now serve on their judicial council, and have lots of fun with that. I'm a trustee at the seminary for the church in Ohio, and my husband died 3 years ago, and I have one child, and she 2 years ago moved to New Hampshire, and they have one daughter, so I have just one grandchild, but I spent a week and a half over there before I came here. So it's nice that if she's got to be away, it's nice that she's kind of close to Scotia, so then I can kind of fit in here. So.
Thank you, Sandy. Okay, John, you're up.
Okay. After high school, I went to the Air National Guard to work, and got married in 1954. And we have 11 grandchildren, and we have 3 great-granddaughters. And then I went to, after working for the Air Guard, I went to GE for a while. And when GE closed out the department 22 years later, I went back to the military for the Division of Military and Naval Affairs. And since then, I retired in '99, but I do a lot of scroll saw work, woodworking, and we have a place up to the lake, which we are inviting everybody to in Sacandaga, July 22nd.
What's the date?
July 22nd.
Okay, we'll get that out.
And Gail's would be here, but she hurt her foot and her toe, so she had a nail removed and it got infected, but she's hoping to be here tomorrow. She was trying to make it today, but couldn't make it.
Well, tell her to get better.
Yes, please.
Well, we left Tom to the last because we figured he was going to work on some jokes before he gets.
Oh, I hope not.
Tom Langsy.
So I think the food's coming in.
I'm going to cut it down to 45 minutes because a lot of you already know about my, well, never mind. That was an incident I'm going to forget. Graduated from kindergarten. I didn't go to nursery school. Graduated from kindergarten Mohawk School, and then they needed the chair, so they put me up in the high school. I was 6 years old, and I graduated in class of '53. And I know some of you. And I went to Union College and majored in girls and beer. And about 4 months later, I was in the United States Army. And I stayed in the Guard, the Reserve, the active Army for 3 years, and then went in the Reserves and Guard for 30 years. And so military is important to me as we take care of veterans. I volunteer at the VA. And I see these guys from Guadalcanal and all these places. It's a real honor to serve these guys. And I went to Oneonta, and then I went on to Harvard for my master's. And Oneonta, I met Joan, which saved my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got four grandchildren. My son is a retired major from the U.S. Army. And he's a recipient of a Bronze Star, and I'm so proud of what he did over in Iraq. He ran a hospital in Baghdad for a year. And my daughter's a pharmacist for Price Chopper. And I'm retired for 20 years, and I'm making my yard absolutely perfect because I have nothing else to do. And I think that's about, we go to Scotland every other year for a month because my parents are from Glasgow. And it's funny, people over there ask me directions because I'm as Scottish as they are. And that's about it.
Thank you, Tom. Briefly, I think you all know, I mean, I'm pretty visible. I'm a pharmacist. I've been a pharmacist all my life. I've owned a pharmacy in Kansas for 5 years. I ended up working for Sterling Drug for 5 years as a manufacturing and production pharmacist. Then I went and taught at the College of Pharmacy for 10 years, which I loved. And then I went to work for the state of New York, where I became an administrator for the Board of Pharmacy, which I loved. And then I decided to do a little change of pace, and so I'm doing the TV show. And so I've been doing that for 15 years. Greg Millett is my technical director. Greg and I have been together 27 years and going. We have 9 kids between us, and I lost a daughter to multiple myeloma a few years back, 10 years back. And other than that, we're leading a good life. That's about it. Thank you, Greg. Grandchildren?
How about Greg now?
Greg, I don't know, I can't count that.
Oh. With 9 kids.
Yeah, I don't know how many.